The another tool of 2D drawing here is curves. Let me show you in the sidebar. As you are concerned, we call our objects curve. If I fix the window of curve, as you can see, although we call the lines curve in Rhino, but we got a separate window for the 2D drawings. Actually, we call them curve. Here we got two curves which are frequently used. The first one is control point curve, and the second one is curve interpolate points. In the continuation, I will tell you the differences between these two. The first one, control point curve. When you are sketching your curve in the scene, your specified point will be considered outside of the curve. I mean, this would be the result. Your specified point got no intersection with the curved line. If I want to compare it with a polyline like this, then I pick the control point curve according to the polyline. Then you can see the differences. Check this out. As you can see, the points got no intersection with the curved line. And then this second one is curve interpolate points. If I pick this command, you will see that the points got intersection with the curved line. Check this out. As you can see, the points are exactly on the curved line. Let me sketch one more to show you. Look, this is the interpolate curve. And as you are concerned, sketching the curve by using interpolate curve is easier actually, because we got the interpolation of points into the line, so we can easily control them. But in the curves, we got the concept of degree. Let us talk about them. For example, when I pick curve interpolate points, here we got degree that we can specify it. Right now the degree is set to 3, that we usually set it to 3. Then this would be the result that we used it before, like this. But here if I modify the value of degree, the curve degree, and then I set it to 5, then this would be the difference. Let me modify the color to show you the differences. I mean, it increases the curveness of the curve. As we maximize the curve degree, it increases the curveness. It is not that much important, and we usually use 3 degrees for the curve degree. But let's talk about other options. For example, one of the most important on the options is persistent close, which is set to no, and this would be the result. But if I set persistent close to yes, let me set the curve degree to 3. Then if I start sketching the curve, then we will have a closed curve at any condition. We won't have an open curve. If I set it to no, as you can see, it is an open curve. We should close it ourselves. But if I set persistent close to yes, then the curve will be closed at any condition, like this. Well done. But about the points that you should put it into consideration, as I told you before, for sketching the curves, like interpolate curves, is a very better option because you got a better control, upon it, since the points got interpolation into the line, so you can control them better. To compare by the control point curve, I set the degree to 3. Let's check it out. The control point curve. Sketching a curved line by using this tool is harder, but sometimes we have to use control point curve. For example, in some specific conditions that we got a curve, that some parts of the curve are straight, they are not curved. Actually, in the situations that we got a curve, that some of the parts are straight and some others are curved. Let me give you an example like this. I start sketching by control point, then I hold down shift, then the second point, third one, fourth, and after having a straight line, then I can curve the line by this way. Check the curvedness of the line. Some parts are straight, then the curve started from that point. But let's try to sketch such a curve by using curve interpolate points. So I pick curve interpolate points, then I want to try sketching such a shape or geometry. I hold down shift to complete this straight line, I curve the line. Compare these two lines to each other. As you can see, we don't have the straight line and the curveness is not satisfying, while by using control point curve gives us great curve, specifically when we want a mixture of straightness and curveness in an organized way. I start 1, 2, 3, I hold down shift. After specifying the fourth point, I curve the line. This is usually used for the porches and also the domes that were oblique to use this technique. But if you wanted to continue your curved lines after sketching them, you can use continue command. But if you wanted to continue your curved line by using interpolate curves, curve interpolate points, here it is, curve interpolate points, that the points got interpolation with the points, the lines. You can type continue in the command line, continue interpolate curve or CRV. Then if you specify the line, you can continue sketching the interpolate point curve. But if you wanted to continue them by using control point curve, here it is, control point curve. The points got no interpolation with the line or curved line. You can type continue, continue curve. And it does not matter what you have been used before or the last type of curve. You can continue your curve in the manner you want. For example, here we got a mixture of control point and the interpolate point. These were the two techniques for continuing your curves. But let's talk about the modifying or the addition of these curves. Actually, when you sketch your curve by using interpolate points, like this, as you can see on the scene, that the points got interpolation with the line. When you select your curve, you can see the control points there which are not interpolating the line. And if I use control point curve, let's check it out, and then I finish sketching, the control points are outside they got no intersection. So the differences is only while we are sketching them. Exactly while we are sketching our curves, we got access to the control points which got interpolation. But finally, they will be separated from each other. And these points are called control points, as I mentioned before. That by using these points, we can modify the curvedness of the line. For instance, if I select this curved line, then the control points will be displayed automatically. But if I select two curves, we do not have the control points automatically. We are required to press F10 shortcut if we want the control points to be displayed, or we can click on show objects control points like this way. So by clicking on show objects control points, we can display or show the control points. Then after selecting the object, if I hold down shift and I select the another one, both of the control points of both of the objects I'm in are shown. But if I select them together, the control points won't be shown. You have to press F10. So let us modify the control points and then modify the curvedness of the line like this. For example, I select this line, then I select this control point. Then as you can see, I can change the position along the axis or in both axes simultaneously. Or if I want to modify the height, I select them, then I move it downwards, or the another point, I move it downwards like this. So by selecting the control points of your curves, you can modify the curvedness of your lines. As I mentioned before, here in the perspective view, if I enable the control points and then select them and I move them along the z-axis, then this would be the result. Check this out. In the perspective or 3D view, as you can see, we got a higher range of variety in sketching the lines, the movement of the control points. But note that while you are sketching a curve, for example like this, you have to use the less control points. For example, curve interpolate points. If I sketch it like this, in this manner, in which we got too many control points, it would be hard to control it. That I call it stressy manner. Then the result won't be smooth. Check this out. This is not satisfying or acceptable, and we won't be able to modify the curvedness of the line. It would be very difficult since we got too many control points. Check this out. It wouldn't be practical. So while you're sketching your curve, note that. Try to have the less control points, so the less the better. Let me say that at the count which are required or you need them. Let me give you another point and then we're gonna switch to the next point. Next topic actually. Just this is if you had selected your curve and the control points weren't displayed, or you should adjust the setting. You should open options, Rhino options, like this. Then in Rhino options in mouse, here we got some settings for selecting, which is turn on control points when selecting a curve, light or annotation. You should click this checkbox. I mean, if I remove the checkbox, we won't have any control points until we press F10. Check this out. Or we should click on the checkbox of, turning on the control points. So you'd better to turn it on or click on the checkbox in order to have the access to the control points automatically. It speeds up the process of working with Rhino, so you won't have any problems or challenges while you're modifying your curves. In the continuation, I'm gonna explain a concept, and then I'll leave you to practice these lessons. Let me clean up the scene. As you remember, I selected the control point at this curve, and then I moved it along the z-axis in the perspective view. As you can see, this curve is not straight anymore. It is not considered as a 2D drawing. It is a 3D curve, since it is moved along the z-axis. So the curves which have been sketched in the specific plane like these are called 2D curves. But the curves like these, which is moved along the z-axis, which are not placed at the similar plane when they are not flat, are called 3D curves. I mean, they have been sketched in the perspective view and the level is not fixed. But note that if I rotate this curve like this, check this out, this is not considered as a 3D curve. But as you can see, the level is the same. I mean, the level is not modified. It is still a 2D drawing. The curves that their height either are the same are called 2D curves, but the curves like this, that their heights are modified. For example, if I choose these and then I move the control point along the z-axis to modify the height like this, which are called 3D curves. It is not a plane curve anymore. And from now on, we're gonna deal with these expressions because there are some commands that they are only applied to the, for example, 2D curves or 3D curves. I mean, they do not support the 3D or 2D curves, for example. And in Rhino, we call planar instead of 2D curves. So the 2D curves are called planar in Rhino. There are some commands that they only support the planar curves or 2D curves. Planar SRF or surface. We should select a planar curve to build the surface. Here, only a planar curve is allowed to be selected if we want to build a surface. So it is important to learn the concept of the planar curves or the 3D curves, since in some of the commands that we have to use the planar curves, we can put them into consideration. So guys, please just practice the given lessons in this session, and when you were prepared, you can start the next session. See you next time.